Everyone, I am Alexa Mavroidis, Chair of the Accessibility Subcommittee, and I would like to welcome everyone. Good to see you tonight, and I know that several people are here for public comment. So do we want to do some quick introductions, and how do we want to organize that?
Madam Chair, you can start with the committee, and then if you wish, you can go to staff and then the public, if your heart so desires.
All right. All right. Laura or Herschel, either of you want to go next?
I'll go next. My name is Laura McNeil. I'm a member of the Transit Accessibility Subcommittee, and I'm here tonight to come to the meeting.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Herschel Cantor, member of the Transit Advisory Committee and the Accessibility Subcommittee.
All right, so that's the whole subcommittee. So does anyone on staff want to start us off?
Good evening, I'm Lynn Rivers. I'm the Transit Bureau Chief.
Incoming call, +1, +1, 757 561 921. Answer call, answer call, answer call.
Good evening, Quentin Edwards, Transit Services Manager, Arlington County Transit Bureau.
And good evening, this is Hui Wang, Deputy Director for DES, Arlington County.
All right, is that everybody that's here from staff?
I think we have additional staff that are just being shy this evening.
Hello, Rocco Visconti, a management intern for Arlington County.
Good evening, Paul Meunier, service planner for the art system.
And Alexa, that's it for staff.
Answer call, answer call.
All right, I know we've got some members of the public here. Would you guys, folks, like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Roseanne Ashby, and Alexa, I will need to leave around 5:30.
Okay, so do you want to give comment first once we're done with our introductions?
I think Kent was going to be first, but I'm happy to be toward the beginning if I could be.
Okay. Who else do we have here tonight that would like to give comment or introduce themselves?
My name is Sharon, and I'd like to just make sure that it's on the record that there was no agenda or materials posted in order to allow public review, making it difficult to provide public comment. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else that would like to introduce themselves?
Hi, Alexa. I'm Joe DePhillips, a star user.
Nice to see you as always, Joe.
Thank you.
And Kent Keyser, I'm a star rider.
All right, welcome, Kent. Is that everybody, or are there a few more? I see a couple names, but I'm not sure if folks are just here to listen or.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, may I ask who's speaking?
Yes, I'm Rochelle Marsh, a star rider.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anybody else that would like to introduce themselves or give comment? Okay, Kent, I know you had some things to say. I wasn't sure if you wanted to give comments yourself or if you wanted me to read the email that you sent. Either way is perfectly fine with me.
Sure. No, I can do it. Thanks.
All right.
And
Chair
thanks for,
Alexa. I'm sorry, Kent. There were a couple of phone numbers that dialed in. I'll just call out their numbers so that they can identify themselves. The first number is area code 202-706-2486. Please identify yourself.
Yeah, Rochelle Marsh.
Thank you very much.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, heard you loud and clear. Thank you very much, Ms. Mersh.
Hello, Rochelle Marsh.
Yes, Ms. Rochelle Mersh, we heard you. Thank you.
Thanks. It's Marsh. M-A-R-S-H.
Thank you, Ms. Marsh. Next number is 240-449-5550. Area code 240-449-5550. All right. Next numbers, area code 703-839-5975. Seven 839-5975. All right, and the final number is 703-969-2724.
That's me, Joseph to Phillips.
All right, so is that everyone? If so, then perhaps we should just go ahead and let Mr. Keyser give his comment.
Alexa, this is Joseph. I'd just like to interject. If Kent Keyser needs more time, I'd like to defer my public comment time to him.
Okay.
Thanks.
If he needs
Thanks,
it.
Alexa.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe. Alexa, thank you very much for pointing out about the recordings. Previously, we've been told that the recordings would be posted on the website. Does anyone know when the recordings will be available, please? Once again, I only received an email notice about this meeting less than 2 business days in advance. No further agenda was included in the notice, nor has one been posted on the county website. Is there no way to either have regular subcommittee meetings or to receive sufficient notice of meetings, perhaps 3 weeks in advance, to give stakeholders sufficient time to arrange their schedules and become informed about the issue that the subcommittee will discuss and perhaps act upon at the meeting? I understand the subcommittee meets at this time because there's also a meeting of the TAC later this evening. While this is very convenient for county staff and perhaps even subcommittee members, it's not convenient for members of the disability community who work and or conduct business and or have children. What can be done about the scheduling subcommittee meetings to allow greater participation from the disability community with the subcommittee? I understand that the county transit staff mailed postcards to STAR riders directing us on how we can provide feedback on the STAR program. I have not received a postcard to date. I've been a STAR rider since 2007. So please, how can I make certain my name and address are on the county's mailing list for future mailings? Were the postcards individually addressed? I understand that on August 30th, the county transit staff announced that, quote, this September, Arlington Transit invites current STAR, Specialized Transportation for Arlington Residents customers, to share their thoughts on current service. I had to Google that phrase to find out the announcement on the county website under public engagement. It is included only on the STAR webpage under provide feedback, which is listed at the bottom of the webpage with several other options. Given that there is a closing date of September 30th on feedback, Can the subcommittee help explain how county staff could better engage the disability community? For example, several requests have been made to the subcommittee to form a STAR users group composed of riders, providers, call center management, and employees, drivers, and subcommittee members. What is the status of those repeated requests, please? I understand from County Board Vice Chair Libby Garvey that the proposed cuts to Star Rider services have been postponed and all related previous materials have been removed from the ARC website. Does postponement mean the cuts in Star Rider services will be considered again? If so, when? And if we could please get a precise time frame, this would help inform riders who depend on Star for essential transportation. Additionally, for too long, the subcommittee has operated with only 3 members. What are the plans to increase the disability community's engagement with transportation issues for people with disabilities by including a greater representation of our community in the subcommittee's expanded membership? Given the multiple transportation issues faced by wheelchair users, it's essential to have at least a manual empower wheelchair users represented. By far, there are multiple populations of disabilities that should be reflected in the subcommittee membership. Finally, when discussing proposals before the subcommittee, the chair has been very gracious, extremely gracious, in fact, in attempting to give members of the disability community an opportunity to ask questions and to make comments. This is especially appreciated given the time and scheduling constraints imposed by county staff under which the chair is trying to conduct the meetings. With numerous issues surrounding the current STAR feedback effort, would the subcommittee please be willing to discuss with advocates how the subcommittee meetings could be conducted to achieve greater inclusion, equity, transparency, and meaningful and productive dialogue with the disability community? Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for your comments, Kent. Roseanne, did you want to go next so that we make sure that we can get all the comments that you have?
Yes, thank you, Alexis. I really appreciate it. I have a great deal of concern about the survey that was sent out for some of the reasons that have been mentioned already. A lot of people did not receive them. Those of us who are blind received a postcard in the mail with a QR code. We were offered an opportunity to call in, which has its own issue, which I'll bring up in a minute. There was a link on the website that was very well hidden. So there's no transparency here. There's no real effort to really reach the STAR users. And that's a real concern to us. We need to understand the purpose of the survey. We have asked time and time again to be involved in developing the survey. We want to have a meaningful survey. We have ideas for how to improve the program. And the survey questions were so general that I don't think you're going to get meaningful data. Those of us who had to respond by phone had no opportunity to comment. There was no, we had to just say very satisfied, satisfied, whatever, but there was no opportunity to enter comments in the survey. Again, my concern is about the quality of the survey. What is going to be done with it? What kind of data can meaningfully be gathered? And then particularly if this is involved in policy development, you know, what kind of conclusions are the county staff going to draw from this very inadequate effort to poll the disability community? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Roseanne. Do we have anyone else that would like to give comment tonight?
Yes, this is Joseph DePhillips. I'd like to speak, if I may.
Please.
Yeah, I would just like to follow up and support what Kent and Roseanne have said. Last year, we were so elated when Dr. Wang took over. We thought it was a new dawn of a new day. We appreciated the work of Dennis Leach, but we saw a new beginning. Unfortunately, now it seems business as usual. We did everything that Dr. Wang asked of us. She asked us to postpone the meeting so she could come up to speed. And we've asked since her tenure began to form a STAR users group. We also asked repeatedly, as Roseanne and Kent mentioned, to be part of the process, to help you, to work with you, and make an excellent program even better by beginning to work with you from the ground up to provide questions for the survey. We were not once contacted. And it saddens me that we're just back to square one. We might as well call Dennis Leach out of retirement. So, and you know, it's just business as usual. And I don't know what it's going to take if us keep going to the board or whatever it's going to take. But at some point, this has to change. And we need to be worked with just as other parts of Arlington. They all work as one Arlington, but not the disability subcommittee, not with the county at least. We're repeatedly overlooked, and it just has to stop. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone else that's interested in giving comment?
Madam Chair.
I believe this is Doris Ray. Welcome, Doris.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a few comments representing Independent Center of Northern Virginia. And we are in concurrence with the comments made by Mr. Kaiser and others here tonight. We are particularly disappointed in the lack of engagement with the public in terms of notice about September being an input period into the development of policies going forward for STAR. We are concerned, especially because we have made the point in previous meetings of this subcommittee and at other venues that we feel there needs to be better communication and better planning to communicate with the public. This is required of all transit properties and transit authorities throughout the United States receiving any kind of federal funding, and it's required by FOIA and state regulations as well. We are concerned that there was complete silence basically about when an outreach period would start. And only now, in the first few days of the beginning of September, are we told that public engagement and input will be accepted through September. And yet, most public bodies give at least 10 working days before before a meeting like this. And in fact, WMATA provides at least 15 days, if not longer. We're wondering why also that the communication regarding input and the survey was only made aware to STAR riders, current STAR riders, and not to disability organizations like ECNV, like the American Council of the Blind, the National Federation of the Blind, the Spinal Cord Injury Network, United Spinal, and the Northern Virginia Resource Center for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Persons, and other disability organizations in our community, so that they and their members who are potentially if not current, potential riders of STAR. They should have heard about this and been able to attend this and other meetings, and yet we've been provided no notice. We don't think this is a truly a good communication plan, and there should have been planning for that and plenty of time for public comment. So we hope that you, as the subcommittee, will address these points and perhaps even extend this public comment period so that the community has a full opportunity to comment. In fact, I recall discussion about having public meetings dedicated to changes in STAR programs, services, fares, and other matters over the course of the last year and a half, and none of that has come to fruition. We need to see more now so that when a proposal truly does come out, we know, and the county board knows, and the staff knows that the public has had a full opportunity to comment. Thank you for allowing me to make these observations.
Thank you for coming, Doris, and thank you for your comments. Do we have anybody else who is interested in giving public comment? I know that STAR Public Engagement is one of the items on our agenda, so hopefully we will get a little bit more information from staff, you know, about what may or may not be in the pipeline, and hopefully a little more detail about what may happen when. But do we have anyone else who wishes to give comment? Okay, if not, then our next item is approval of the meeting notes way back from May 9th. So does anybody have any comments on those, or do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Okay, all right. Well, there's only 3 of us, and I'm good with them too. So I'm going to say that that probably counts as an approval, and we can move on to the next thing. Thank you guys very much. Okay, so now what I'm seeing is STAR Public Engagement. So take it away, staff. Let us know what you're thinking about.
Good evening again, Madam Chair and members of the committee. We are coming here today to explicitly talk about public engagement. And during the public comment period, it was heard loud and clear about the public engagement and where we are right now. So what I'll give you first is an overview of the form that is out there that many have commented on already. And then the precipice behind this conversation is exactly what others touched on during the public comment period, is that we want to ask you how we should move forward with this public engagement. This public engagement survey was step 1 of a robust public engagement piece. And as folks have said on this call, we want to make sure we get to people to get feedback from people in places we might miss. But let me go through this first, and then I will open it back up to the committee. Let me know if you can see the screen. The top of the screen should be a slide that starts off with public engagement. All right, so as folks have said earlier, we have a STAR public engagement form that is now open. That form is open from September 1st to the 30th. And what our overall function is, as many have mentioned, is that we're looking to come up with clear and accessible communication. We did a mailing of 1,478 postcards to every STAR registered user that we have in our system. There was a comment earlier that someone did not receive that. We can check the list to make sure that we have that address on file. Those cards were mailed out during the last week of August to be in mailboxes before the 1st of September. We also have this form, we also have the survey on the homepage on the Arlington Transit website. If you go directly to the Arlington Transit website, and on the very first thing, in the very top, right at the bottom, it says Star Feedback Opportunity, and it gives you a link to click here to share your feedback. Once you go to that link, there are 7 questions that will allow staff to gather more feedback and to engage with the public on the STAR services and what folks' expectations are, what they like about the service, what they don't like about the service. And then there's also an opportunity at the very bottom. If any of those questions don't capture exactly what you're looking for, the question reads, please share any additional comments or feedback you have about your current experiences with STAR service. Through that, during the next coming weeks, for those that are using STAR and they have trips, we printed additional postcards so that the drivers will be handing those out to users of the system over the rest of this month to remind them as the opportunity to provide public feedback. For those that may not be computer savvy or may not be comfortable doing it, we've set up our call center. Our call center is set up to receive the feedback from the passengers and those when they call to make their reservations. One thing that we really wanted to do is that when a user is making their reservation and they're actively engaged at that time, if they don't want to do it through the Arlington Transit website or do it on their own, then we have the opportunity for the call center representatives. They have the option and the ability to be able to receive that feedback from passengers so that that feedback can be recorded. Also, we will be sending out an email reminder. In the next week, there'll be an email reminder. Just continue to let folks know to engage with the survey, to provide the feedback, and with the feedback closing on September 30th, just as an additional way to do that. So here on the screen, we have several ways that we're making sure that we are capturing all of the feedback from STAR users to interested persons to persons that just are passionate about public transportation and want to see the STAR service thrive and be the best that it can be. Additional outreach efforts. We are looking to go during the month of September. One of the public comments mentioned this. We're looking to go to the Transportation Commission, the Transit Advisory Committee, the Accessibility Subcommittee where we are tonight, and also the Disability Advisory Committee. They meet next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. These are the outreach resources that staff had identified as locations where we can capture more feedback and get more feedback and get additional avenues that we need to engage the public. And so at this time, I will stop talking. We have the last bullet point here is other opportunities. This was expounded upon about folks that are part of this meeting tonight. What are the opportunities that we're missing that as we move forward with this public engagement, with this just being phase 1, what are other opportunities we have to engage the STAR users, interested person, and transit enthusiasts? I'll turn it back over to the committee so that you all can facilitate the discussion so that staff can actively take notes to make sure we're capturing the needs of those persons and that we can continue to engage you all in a robust and thorough way. We feel as though that this committee is the best way to go about doing so. We have a captive audience, it's a scheduled meeting, and so we want to really facilitate this discussion through this committee. So I will turn it back over to the chair to facilitate that discussion.
Okay. So you are looking at outreach to those commissions and committees, but we're no longer looking at a schedule of public hearings or something like that. I just want to make sure I'm understanding that correctly.
We are seeking all feedback opportunities from you all. If you all feel like that is a great way to capture folks, we will notate that. So at this point, this was our first crack at it to see how we would move forward. What we are doing is we are opening it up to you all in an active listening mode to see what other options are there that we may we may have not sight of. And Wei has her hand raised, Madam Chair.
Yes, yes. Ms. Wang, did you want to?
Yeah, I feel like there may be an sort of issue that I need to clarify a little bit. If you think that's actually you already understood that, then you can feel free to stop me. Previously, when we had the 2023 proposal posted online through, good faith study on the staff side, and we posted sort of a proposal of solution. And we received your comment about why did you develop something that you think going to solve the problem without engaging us and talk to us? And we heard that comment loud and clear, which is why Clinton was mentioning phase 1, which is why this time we come back. We first want to get a fair feedback from as many users as possible of STAR to see what is the overall experience with STAR, what is the sort of most challenges they face, what worked, what didn't. So phase 1 is really meant to collect information from the ground up. And then using that feedback, we're going to try to, pull together, like, here's the most identified challenge, and this may be what we would recommend to solve that. We'll then come back again to ask for feedback on, what do you think? Do you think this is going to solve the problem? Or so this is just the first step, which is we think as a way to address some of the challenges of things may be developed mostly based on staff effort, not having the full engagement. Another thing to clarify is County has a fairly good, I will say, 6-step engagement guideline, and the DES has a very good communication and engagement group. So we actually worked with our CAPE experts, asked them, hey, what is the good engagement plan? So they actually developed the engagement plan on our request. And this is, I would just say, the format and the steps that we take is pretty comparable to other projects or other planning effort. So I will just say this committee and this project is not being, let's say, is not being put under a different lens or negligence. It may not be the way some of our folks would like to see, but we are actually following the county's communication and engagement guideline. So that's just my clarification on some of the details.
So if I can maybe repeat that to see whether I fully understand. So the idea is that because what was going on previously was a set of proposals that staff made, that triggered sort of a different, I'm not sure of the right word, but like it was a different stage. It was okay, we're going to schedule public hearings and we're going to spend this long reading the feedback and we're going to respond to it in these ways with more proposals, where now those proposals have been entirely scrapped. And before even thinking about what new proposals could be made, because the project is new and the staff is new, you are basically asking us, what is STAR like? How is STAR working? What is working well? What is working badly, in a very, very general sense? And that at some point there may be sets of proposals that do come out, at which point there will be things more like scheduled public hearings. But for now, since everything is so new, the idea is what's working, what's not working. Do I understand you correctly? Yes.
Yes.
Because I believe
so. This is not the only time for folks to comment. More will be coming, and I would highly encourage, because I've heard a few people, because you've reviewed something in previous years, so you have had some thoughts. I would highly encourage folks to share those thoughts in that comment box, because the more we hear up front, the more that's going to help us develop further proposal, and those will come out for public hearing. We're not gonna just cook anything behind the curtain.
Okay, yeah, that was kind of my concern. I was thinking that we were going to be getting new proposals and that we were going to be digging into them. And I was like, how come I haven't heard about public hearings? What's going on with this? And so, the impression I had from some other folks that I spoke to was, oh, we're really, really back to square one. So I really appreciate you, commenting and allowing us to hear that, the reason that we're not getting into the nitty gritty of proposals is that at the moment there aren't any. I do see that a member of the public has his hand up. I don't know whether we should go ahead and take that, or whether we should, he should send things to us and we should maybe discuss them at another meeting between the committee. I'm not quite sure. Because one of the things that has changed is that we used to have kind of very big meetings for public comment I think it was a quarterly basis. And so I think part of what might be going on is that people may be kind of expecting that meeting or thinking this is that meeting. And, it does look like, since everything is new, we're kind of, hashing out what works for us. So I don't know, Ken, did you have a quick comment?
Well, I have some questions now that I've been relegated to a person. I'm trying to recall how Dr. Wong characterized me, but as people who disagree or something like that, I would go to the heart of the matter and ask if anyone actually read the county engagement guide. It doesn't have any mention of people with disabilities, of accommodations, or of accessibility other than communication should be accessible. That's a poor instrument to deal with the disability community. And I don't know how many people with disabilities were engaged in developing the survey, as Roseanne mentioned, or suspected that there were none. But I would ask, did anybody with disabilities, were they consulted at all in developing this survey? And my real question echoes one that Roseanne asked: why are we doing this public engagement, and why are we, as Dr. Wong characterized it, only looking at the challenges rather than looking at the challenges and opportunities?
I will say, Kent, that I think that, again, since this is a new group of people taking a new group of feedback, we may want to let staff take the feedback that they've been given today, think about it and respond to it. As I mentioned, I have had concerns about, kind of some of the same things. Are we going ahead with proposals? Is there something being developed that we're not hearing about? It sounds to me, from what I understand Ms. Wong is just saying, and what I understand Mr. Edwards is saying, that they are committing to not doing that. That they are committing to starting very, very freshly and anew. What if there is something that needs to be on the survey or something that the survey isn't capturing, what we might want to do is come back to them and say, what about including these things? Or, you know, I'm struggling to figure out where to put XYZ. You know, I totally understand the frustration. I share a lot of the frustration. I have been running around like crazy trying to figure out when we're going to know what we're going to know. So I don't want to sound like, you know, I'm totally okay with everything, but at the same time, if what happened, and this is what I'm hearing described, is that staff realized that they were going full steam ahead on something that they weren't ready for, and we asked them to hold off, and now they're holding off. Perhaps we should take a step back and say, okay, here's all the stuff that we need you to know. There's a lot of it because you weren't here. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with this. I don't know if anybody else on the subcommittee has you know, different feelings about that or wants to share any other feelings about that. I see that Doris has her hand up. Doris, do you have something very brief?
Yes, Madam Chair. The thing that I wanted to point out is that it doesn't seem to me that the staff has come to this subcommittee, because things were done over the summer, so, and said, we have a plan for, we would like to initiate a plan for civic engagement, and it would be leading to a some proposed changes that we might want to, that the staff might want to bring forward to the board, you know, in whenever, December, maybe in March during the budget hearings and the development of, you know, the development and discussion of programs, but that our goal is to really look at what improvements, what changes we would like to make, and these are the things that we will be doing over the course of so and so many months, and make that a plan that is visible to the community, that the community can comment on, that then your committee could debate and give their recommendations, as well as the DAC, and that the staff could then go ahead and proceed with those plans, and we would know what we're aiming for. But instead, I'm hearing that it's more of an ad hoc exercise, and I think we're going to go back and forth on all of this if we don't have a true plan for going forward with STAR service, and I don't think any transit service can operate properly and efficiently and as a public service without having a plan in place and why we're going forward to do this public engagement. Does that make sense to you, Madam Chair?
Again, Doris, I can only speak for myself. Again, if the other subcommittee members have an opinion, whether it's agreeing or disagreeing with me, the impression that I have from the feedback that was given is that the community did a really, really, really thorough and amazing job of advocating that the county hold the phone on this one. And now they have decided to hold the phone, And now we are frustrated because we don't know how fast they're going to go. And my concern is that if we asked them to stop and rethink things, and then we start asking them to go full steam ahead again, what we would have gained by having them slow down a little bit may get lost. And I don't want that to happen. And I also don't want, it sounds like there are very different ideas about what this is for and what this is about. And I have always been the kind of person that wants to come to some sort of negotiation. And, so I am likely to come to it from the view of, okay, they want September, and I'm not sure, maybe possibly longer, since they're talking about additional outreach to these commissions, to get general feedback. And then the next thing that will happen is that they will do whatever analysis they're going to do, and then they will come to us with more specific things. Whether that is ideal or not, I can't say, but I can say that my feeling as myself, not speaking for the committee or speaking for any other person, is that people could easily have just gone ahead with a bunch of proposals that we thought were terrible. That didn't happen. And I think we need to start from, where I'm starting from here is, oh, thank you. We may see some of that again, we may not, but, they're not running us over with it anymore. So,
Madam Chair, if I may intervene with the last 10 minutes we had, that's why we're here tonight, is to ask for the additional opportunities on how we should move forward in the future phases of this public engagement. That's why this first phase is dated September 30th, because we wanted to make sure to come in the middle of it to this committee and to other committees so that we could ask, where are there opportunities that we may have missed, or any opportunities that we can continue to engage the STAR community, interested persons, and transit enthusiasts. Because what we didn't want to do is that so giving you an example, we didn't want to set up a bunch of pop-ups at metro stations, similar to what we did for the transit strategic plan, because this is a targeted audience that we are looking to reach. And so we didn't want to go out and make this set up 1725 pop-ups at every transit station, and we're not capturing the folks that we are looking to capture feedback from, or how we should move forward. So that's our question for the subcommittee today, and that will be my question to the Transportation Committee in September or later this month, and my question to the Disability Advisory Committee next Tuesday night. How will we continue to move forward? This survey is step one, phase one. How do we need to move forward to capture folks so that we can make STAR the best that we can?
Yeah, and I think some people have given some good suggestions about reaching out to other disability related organizations or disability communities. I don't know where exactly in the process that should go, but I do think that some of those suggestions are very good ones. Particularly talking to communities that are sort of subsets of the disability community, like visually impaired people or deaf people, or those sorts of things, where those people may have needs that I might not think of right off the top of my head as a sighted person with normal hearing, but that are very important, and that as soon as someone points them out, I'm like, yeah, please do that. So, I do think that is a good suggestion that was made, but again, I don't know where exactly you might want to
Madam
put it.
Chair, could you ask? I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
Madam Chair, I was just wondering, since several people have voiced a concern that there wasn't perhaps sufficient notice about the meeting tonight. And I'm just wondering if there is any possibility of extending the deadline to respond to this beyond September 30th, if people could now take the opportunity to confer with others and talk about this in order to get some feedback.
Staff, is that a possibility, or what happens in the next stage? What happens in the stage once the 30th passes?
Well, that's why we're here today, is trying to figure out how we should move forward with this. Do we need to set up targeted in-person meetings? We have a whole raft of ideas on how to move forward, but we don't want to set up a 7 p.m. meeting on a Wednesday in Bozeman to discuss STAR, and that's not a good spot or a good location or a good time. We are really reaching out and asking. And I think Ms. Doris had lots of suggestions, Madam Chair. If you wouldn't mind, if she could just repeat those resources that she offered, that would be fantastic, so that we can, I know it's early in the recording, but we have other staff just wanting to capture those again.
Doris, do you mind repeating
there
those
needs
suggestions?
to also be sufficient notice to the community. You know, we could have put this out on our newsletter, but not with 2 days notice, you know, and others could have done the same. And in fact, and perhaps some here will remember this, I think it was in the time that Mr. Yaffe was heading STAR and ART that we did have several hearings, and they were done with notice. And I know that when one of our former board presidents was the chair of the Disability Advisory Commission, I mean, he, this was Tom Kelly, he advanced that idea, and there were several hearings that were held, but we knew where we were going. We knew that it was so that the county could make proposals going into a new fiscal year and the budget process and such, new proposals, which is kind of the usual public comment. You know, the usual purpose for public engagement is looking at changes or improvements or enhancements of service or whatever, and so it only makes sense to set what the goal is and where we're going, and then to provide sufficient time. I mean, that's the usual public process. It's a public process that that the Transportation Planning Board at COG and the AFA committee use and WMATA uses, so that there's a lot of forward discussion and comment. And I have to say, scheduling a meeting at 7, I want to make this point because Mr. Keiser made this point. Scheduling a meeting at 7 p.m. would certainly be better than scheduling a meeting at 5 p.m. because everybody's in transit. Everybody knows people are in transit. And when transit authorities schedule hearings at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. in the evening, all of the riders and users are trying to get home. I mean, it's a way actually of diminishing the possibility of public engagement. I just needed to say that because it's really problematic in a public process when you hold hearings and meetings and things where changes in your transit services are going to be made, and they're held at 5 p.m. when you're coming home from work, for Pete's sake.
Well, Doris, it is 2 minutes to 6. So I will say
I
that I
appreciate your allowing
definitely,
me to
yeah,
do that.
I will say that I definitely hear that concern. And I don't know if that's something that we can handle tonight, but I do think that it may be worth it for the subcommittee to consider whether we want to move our meetings, particularly if we do want to continue kind of the way that we were going, where um, um, once in every whatever number of meetings was a meeting in which a lot of people were giving public comment. So I definitely think that's something that we should consider and, perhaps take up at our next meeting. Perhaps we should, the three of us should speak by email. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Herschel and Laura?
Yeah, fine.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll send around an email. If there are days and times that work best for folks, I guess you guys can share that with me and I can say, hey, I got 6 people saying that they like Wednesdays but not Tuesdays, or I got 5 people saying not Fridays, or whatever the case may be. So we can rethink.
I guess there are two kinds of complaints, and actually the ones we've been talking about tonight, almost all the time, I guess, are the procedural ones and things about public engagement, which are supposed to get the people to tell their ideas, complaints and ideas about STAR itself and how it works. And I think I'm not a user, so I can't say this, but it seems to me that that one of the things the staff might do is go over the history of complaints about the STAR itself and its operation and how they've been handled. And perhaps as part of their presentation, say, this is what we've learned from what people have told, for 10 years, what people have been telling. And it may turn out that covers, 80 or 90% of the things that people would comment on, maybe even more. Because I think part of what we miss about the program itself is some coherent response that the staff can give to the users and say, this is what we understand, and some of these things can be taken care of and some of them can't because they're too expensive or they would just cost too much. And some of them may be things because users don't pay attention to each other and to the, that they're, so I think part of what would be useful, I'm conjecturing, would be if the staff could tell people how their understanding of how users have responded over the years. It's possible some of that they can leave out because it's irrelevant and has been taken care of, but much of it many of the kinds of problems that people have are just come in the same over the years. Some of which are insoluble. I mean, just some can't be solved, and some of which have been handled by one company and not the other company. So anyway, that's my view.
Yes, and Mr. Cantor, to that, we receive about 10 complaints a month. And so when we receive those, we promptly respond to those and answer them fully so that we can either answer it or provide the additional answer that a person may need that is providing the complaint.
Okay, so
I know that we are.
I think users would benefit if they knew where you're coming from, which would include how you handle that, what complaints you've seen, what compliments you've gotten or the program has gotten, and so forth. So you're not starting from scratch, I guess. Anyway.
Well, I know that we have arrived at the 6 o'clock hour. Madam Chair, it seems like I know one recommendation we received from Ms. McNeil is considering an extension. And just, of course, we are still receiving the feedback, so we will take that consideration. You all as a committee seem like you're going to reconvene next week, possibly next week. So let's see if we can have a conversation as well, because I will be presenting at the Disability Advisory Commission committee next Tuesday, and I'll be asking the same question as to what other opportunities are there for the future of this public engagement, how we can receive feedback. But I will definitely touch base with you next Tuesday. I don't know if we'll talk offline as far as meeting with all three of you all, but please gather feedback from others over the next week and the next Tuesday of the DAC.
Yeah, whatever anybody sends to me, I definitely will, analyze and share. So.
Okay. And I'll send us a meeting reminder so we can chat next Tuesday before the DAC meeting to see what feedback and ideas for furthering this public engagement.
Okay. I believe that there was something else about the service metrics. I'm not sure how we want to handle that or.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee, I have the STAR service metrics report here on the screen. Please let me know if you can see those. We are over time, so I'm just posting these here just for your consumption. When we post the materials from this meeting later this week, this will be here. Just a couple of things. Calls received for the month of June, just over 4,000. On-time pickups 3,155, which is 87% as a percent of trips delivered, and completed trips 3,625 for the month of June. But this will be available on the subcommittee website later on this week so that folks can.
Okay, and that will be posted this week, and will the recording also be posted? Or I know that was one question that we heard.
Yes, this recording will be posted this week.
Okay.
But yes, when we meet next week, all the materials will be available and the recording available as well.
Okay. Other members of the subcommittee, is there anything more that we need to discuss or cover right now, or are we good for now? Because we are over time.
I think we're good for now.
Okay, should I count that as a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, Rachel, you're good with that? Okay, and I'm number 3. So have a good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming and for giving comment. I really appreciate it, and as always, appreciate how fierce you are in advocating for yourselves in the community. So I hope everybody has a great night. Bye.
Thank you all very much. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McNeil and Mr. Cantor, have a good evening. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting at this time.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.